subtitles. In this footage, you can see how today, November 10, the president of Syria, Ash-Sharay, is playing basketball with American generals in Washington before meeting with Donald Trump. The meeting between Ash-Sharay and Trump took place. And now the United States is actively preparing to deploy American troops in Syria, who will be responsible for monitoring the ceasefire between Israel and Syria. According to Trump's plan, they will soon sign a security agreement and live peacefully and happily. But today, even before the meeting, this particular video caused a lot of commotion. In the footage, Syrian President Ash-Sharay is playing basketball together with General Kevin Lambert, who leads the mission against the Islamic State, and Admiral Brad Cooper, who commands the troops in the Middle East. And everything would be fine, but just yesterday Ash-Sharay was considered an Al-Qaeda terrorist, and the United States was offering a $10 million reward for his head. But times have changed dramatically. What did Trump agree on with Syrian President Ash-Sharay? We'll discuss that in this episode. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave any detailed comment below, and subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pichi News. The link is in the description of this video. There we post breaking news as soon as it comes in. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so financially with any donation or a paid sponsorship subscription using the details and links provided. In the description of this video, it says there, support the Alexei Pichi channel. Use any format that works for you. I appreciate any support you offer. So, the White House reported that United States President Donald Trump met with Syrian President Ahmad Ash-Sharay at the White House on Monday. This is the first ever visit of a Syrian president to the White House and another important step in restoring United States-Syrian relations. This is especially unusual considering that Ash-Sharay is a former Al-Qaeda commander who, until recently, was on the United States blacklist for terrorism. However, the brief video with the generals quickly revealed the current United States stance towards Syria's authorities. In this video, the president of Syria is playing basketball with American generals in Washington. And not just any generals. That would be fine. But earlier, the United States actually promised a reward of $10 million for the head of the terrorist Ahmed Ash-Sharay, who took over Syria after the overthrow of the dictator Bashar Assad. Now, his terrorist status has been lifted at the United Nations level, at the American level, and he is meeting in the White House with United States President Donald Trump. But pay attention, after playing basketball, Ash-Sharay shakes hands with General Kevin Lambert, who actually leads the mission against the Icelanders. And next to the former terrorist is Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of Central Command, responsible for the Middle East, East Africa, and Central Asia. Let me briefly remind you, before leading Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, who seized power in Syria and overthrew the Assad regime, the current president of Syria, Ash-Sharay, fought in the ranks of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, participated in the Syrian Jabhat al-Nusra, and even spent some time in custody of the United States Armed Forces. Now he is shaking hands with the generals who once fought against him. Let's return to the visit of Syria's president Ash-Sharay to the United States, not the terrorist, but the president. On Saturday, Ash-Sharay arrived in Washington and met with Syrian American community representatives and Congress members. He met with Trump only on Monday. The key issue at the meeting with Trump was the signing of an agreement for Syria to join the United States-led coalition to fight Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Yes, now Ash-Sharay himself is promising to fight terrorism. Prior to Ash-Sharay's trip to Washington, the Security Council it voted to remove him and his interior minister from the United Nations terrorism blacklist. After the vote, the Trump administration took steps to remove Ash-Sharay from the list of specially designated global terrorists. In short, he is fully pardoned. But interestingly, the White House still did not publicize Ash-Sharay's visit and did not open the Oval Office to the press, as it did for most other world leaders' visits. Moreover, Ash-Sharay entered the White House without being greeted and did not take a joint photo as Trump usually does. Remember, he comes out, greets, shakes hands, takes a photo, and then goes in. So does that mean the United States is still checking Ash-Sharay? But still, the main issue discussed at the White House meeting was the potential new security agreement between Syria and Israel. In fact, Trump is pushing Ash-Sharay to sign a peace agreement with Israel. The United States aims to finalize a comprehensive border security agreement between the two countries by year's end. And it's worth mentioning here that back at the end of August, Israel, for its part, presented Syria with a detailed proposal for a new security agreement, including a map of proposed demilitarized zones stretching from the southwest of Damascus to the border with Israel. It should be remembered that Israel already had tense relations with the new Syrian government. In July, for example, Israel even bombed Damascus. And now, the Trump administration has taken a much more friendly position toward the Syrian president, Ahmed Ash-Sharay. Since then, Syria has been working on a counter-proposal for the security agreement. I should note that the security agreement proposed by Israel is intended to replace the 1974 disengagement agreement between the countries. This pact has essentially lost its relevance after the fall of the Assad regime and Israel's occupation of the buffer zone on the Syrian side of the border. The Israeli proposal is based on the 1979 peace agreement between Israel and Egypt. Why not use it as a basis? This agreement, let me remind you, divided the Sinai Peninsula into 3 zones with Egypt. There, ABC defined different security regimes and levels of demilitarization depending on their distance from the border with Israel. That is, the closer to the border with Israel, the less military presence Egypt should have in general. Even in Washington, they acknowledge these are maximalist Israeli demands. Because Syria is being asked to agree to a wide demilitarized zone and a no-fly zone on its territory. At the same time, nothing changes on the Israeli side of the border, and Damascus, of course, does not agree to this. The proposal divides the territory southwest of Damascus into 3 zones, similar to the Sinai Peninsula. At the same time, the Syrians will be able to maintain different levels of forces and types of weaponry, depending on the area. The proposal provides for the expansion of the buffer zone by 2 kilometers on the Syrian side in the strip adjacent to the buffer zone and closest to the border with Israel. On the Syrian side, the presence of troops and heavy weaponry is not allowed. However, Syria will be permitted to maintain the presence of police and internal security forces. In exchange for these restrictions on the Syrian side, Israel has proposed a gradual withdrawal of troops from all the territories it has occupied in Syria over the past few months, except for the outpost on the summit of the strategic Mount Hermon. Well, another central principle of Israel's proposal is the preservation of an air corridor to Iran through Syria, which would allow Israel to strike Iran in the future. Well, that's why we'll keep an eye on the news in the coming days. They will essentially show whether Trump managed to bring Syrian President Ash-Sharay to a peace and security agreement with Israel. I'll leave it at that. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, hit the bell, and like the channel. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.